Welcome back to Given Chances Farms, and today I'm just going to show you some of the tomato plants that are, well, the tomato seeds I started a while ago, and now that they're grown, they're off of the heat mat. And I've been using this light, and I've been using a fan on them to help strengthen their stems. But I think it's to the point where they're growing so tall that I may have to transplant them into a bigger container. So I may end up putting them in a solo cup and then add more dirt up the stem to give it more strength. Where if you notice when the tomato plants are outside in your garden and some of them sometimes tip over and they start sprouting roots off of that stem to root into the ground, I think that's what I need to do with these to help them not be quite as long and stringy. I mean, they're standing up compared to some of the other seeds. I'll show you the tray that I started first, and for not having a light on them, they kind of got stringy and tend to fallen over. So I don't know if I can save those or just have to start over. All that stuff right there was all cold hardy stuff, so like your lettuce, arugula. I had some broccoli and cauliflower in there also, so I may try and do them in a different container, or I may just try them again and put a grow light on top of the plastic 1020 tray and allow the light to help them strengthen up, and then just transplant them in those containers that I showed you that I got from the Dollar Tree's website. Because for most part, if I've ever heard of all the people talk about them, you can't hardly find them in the stores anymore, and if you go on their website, they're on back order. But I was still able, even though the page said that they were on back order, that I was still able to order them, and they were shipped within that week. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but my plan is, like I said, either get these little cups that I have. I can't remember if this is the broccoli or the cauliflower. I think it may be the broccoli. But either put them in that or the taller solo cups that I'll add more of the soil to the tomato plants and move it up the stem side of it. That way it'll help them strengthen and produce better. So also I'm going to take you outside, as long as it's not still raining. It's been raining most of the day here. I want to show you some of the onions and the garlic that I planted in. They used to be mineral tubs that we used for the cattle, and once the minerals no longer, or it's all gone, I should say, we just basically rinsed them out, and then some of them we use for like a muck bucket. So when we're cleaning the stalls out, or if the chickens, or not the chickens, but where the chicks are, when we do cleanings of that, I end up just dumping it into a container and then putting it wherever it needs to go outside. Or I'll dump it into the wheelbarrow, because it's not as easy to take the wheelbarrow into the chicken or the chick stall where the brooder box is. And then since we have so many of them, like last year, I think there's 3 or 4 of them out there in the garden that I planted cucumbers in and used a tomato cage or another kind of thing for the cucumbers to crawl up on. I also did lettuce in one of them. I did onions, but the onions didn't really do, they didn't get big enough to, you know, harvest them. So I just basically left them in there to see what they would do. And some of them has resprouted and it's continuing to grow for this year. I added more onion to grow in there. And then I bought at one of the farmers market, they had some of the county fair people, they have a garden there in that facility, and they were kind of like taking out some of their stock that they had in their garden. So I bought some garlic. So in that same container, it didn't fill it up all the way. I bought some garlic seed to go in there, and I planted it in that same container. So like I said, if it's not raining still, but it may be still sprinkling, when I go out to feed for the nightly chores, I'll see about going over there and I'll show you what I did. So basically, over the winter time, some of the wood chips that we get, I place those on top of the soil that I put in there. Plus, to where in the bottom, I also used the wood chips to where I didn't have to fill that tub up as much, because I can't remember. I think it's 100 and some pounds worth of mineral in that bucket. So it's a fairly deep bucket. So, like I said, the majority of what I filled in at first was the mulch. Then I put the soil, the potting soil, or whatever. I can't remember what I used, but I put that on top of the mulch. So then come winter time, when I noticed the onions that I planted in there and the garlic that I had transplanted from what I bought at the fairgrounds, I took some of that mulch and stuck over the top, and I also taken some of the leaves that had fallen off the trees and stuck them on top for kind of like a bedding to help protect the onions and the garlic. So I'll probably be going out to the barn here in about maybe 10-15 minutes, and I'll take you over there and see, show you the onions and the garlic. Alright, I'm out here with an umbrella because it's raining, but this is the garlic that I was talking about. So like this one, and these over here is what I bought from the farmer's market. And then all around the outside is what I planted. And you can see that there's still leaves and mulch in this side. And then this one is the onions. So some of the ones on the outer side is the ones that is left over from last year. Some of the leaves in this one has gotten blown out, but for the most part I tried covering it up with the mulch. That one has nothing in it. Oh, I guess we have 5 out here. And then, ouch, that one, both had cucumbers in it, and then I also, on that one right there, had cucumbers growing there too. So I'm gonna head into the barn and give this to the chickens and get out of this rain. Alright, so now I'm back here in the barn, out of that cold, wet rain, and just coming out here to, like I said earlier, get my feeding done and then go back in. The goat's trying to say hi. Can you say hi? Mm-hmm. Hi, hot chocolate. Yeah. And Tulip. Come here, Tulip. You want to say hi? Say hi to everyone. Yeah, say hi. Say hi. Yes, give 'em. I'll turn this around, that way you can be able to see, but I'll show you how big Hot Chocolate's belly is getting. Okay, can you see how wide her belly is? So it's right here, all the way to about right here. And she is going to be due in June, so she's got a couple more months. Well, not quite a couple more months because it's the first part of June. So a little over a month. Well, by the time you add a couple weeks in this, it may be about a month left. So a couple months, between a month and a half to 2 months, she has left, and she's already this big. So like we said in the past, when we've taken her to get ultrasound, that there was 3 sacs in there. And you could, on one of the sacs, the baby in the ultrasound screen, on the screen it only looked like to be really, really small. And the other ones, you could tell that there was a sac there, but you couldn't tell that there was a formation of a fetus in there, basically. So, hopefully, with our fingers crossed, we're praying for all 3 of those sacs to end up having a baby inside there so we can have triplets. And that will be our first of triplets here on the farm. Our first, like we've said, I think in the past, the first time we ever had a goat baby being delivered here on the farm was basically kind of like a surprise. I mean, the guy that we bought the goats off of, because we got 2 goats off of that person. One was a buck and one was a doeling. And at the time, she was not supposed to be old enough, but there was still that possibility that she was old enough to be able to have a baby, but not ready enough for her age. So the guy told us there's a possibility that she may have been bred because there was an accidental entrance of their buck there on the farm, got into this stall, or not really a stall, but a big back end of a barn. It was all open, but fenced off, basically. A certain section of it was fenced off for all these goats to go in. Whether they range from real small kids all the way to, I mean, they're still considered kids, but they weren't old enough to be bred, basically. That was in this section. So, when she gave birth to her kid, that's how he ended up getting his name. His name was Lucky, so that was our first Lucky. We have another Lucky, which is a calf. But with that name, well, I guess both of the calf or the goat name have a real meaning for them being called Lucky. One was born on St. Patrick's Day, and the other one was just luck of the draw when we bought the doeling that she was bred and then gave us a baby. So, hope you enjoyed watching the video. Thanks for hanging out, spending time with us, and if you have any suggestions on my tomato plants that I've planted inside, if I was correct on needing to maybe put them in a bigger container or adding more soil to them up along the stem to make them a little more stronger. I mean, even though they haven't sagged over like the first tray of seeds that I started. And I'll remind you, this is my first time attempting to start seeds in those 10-20 trays. Any other time I start seeds, it's all outside. I've never did any kind of seed starts in the trays to be able to grow them big enough to go outside in my garden. I've done in the past, I've only bought plants that was already started. So, But got gov hair. Come on now. Somehow. That's just another way of having like security basically on your farm and being able to produce all by yourself instead of depending on box stores for your food. So like I said, hope you enjoyed watching the video. Thanks for hanging out. Don't forget to like, subscribe. And I can't get this. There we go. Share on all your social media with your friends and family. And we'll see you tomorrow. You want to say bye? Say bye. Yes, pretty tulip.